themselves, Lyra is so good because if you make a mistake, she just completely nullifies that. And if you make an unfavourable trade in lane, then you can just make it better with the healing box. Obviously, one of the best counters Lyra because he can get the poison shiv, very effective mortal wounds onto the laner or onto the jungler. And now there's a lot of ways Impunity could go. Rhyme is banned. There's no need to ban anything specific. Rhyme doesn't necessarily counter anyone that's now OP. So similarly, if Cruel was banned, then you generally want to ban Rhyme away because Rhyme is so strong if he's not countered by Cruel. And so Impunity really thinking, what kind of comp do you want to run? And they're going to ban away the Petal. That's probably thinking we don't want to face Weapon Petal. It's really good against our Vox. And they've still got a lot of picks Impunity could do. Arden's the most likely captain they're going to want to go for. So Renegades could ban that away now.
Yep, they can probably, the set of Renegades definitely can ban out the Arden or even just the Lance itself. Oh, they are going to go for that Fortress ban, definitely seeing a threat there. As for the Petal ban, Petal is still very strong, although she had a lot of reduction in terms of her defenses. But overall, she's still a very, very strong hero as a weapon carry. And going up against Vox in the early game, it will hurt Vox in terms of the poke and farm as well. So Vox, we saw Impunity going on to this Vox yesterday, and they played just so excellent on it. We saw them going for the poison shift into Breaking Point and into 2 Tyrant's Monocle, if I remember correctly, and that build just busted everyone down. And coming out from Impunity, as with the Petal being banned out, we do see a Cruel for themselves.
Yeah, so picked their 2 carries first up. This does indicate that Impunity might want to last pick Churnwalker here. They're not necessarily going to, but Churnwalker's the kind of captain where if the enemy's got the perfect comp for it, you want to be last picking him. So they've left their options open. They've still got Arden as a much more stable meta captain that everyone knows how to play, but also everyone knows how to play against Arden. No one really knows how to play against Churnwalker yet. So if Impunity do decide to pick it up, that would be really interesting. It could work out fantastically for them, especially with Vox bouncing around, Churnwalker chaining everyone around. It would work great. Another thing that works really well with Churnwalker is Cruel's Spectral Smite will just deal massive burst damage to one target, 30% of that goes to another target, but they have got double poke comp for Renegade, so that is not going to be a Churnwalker, or at least I hope not, because he's really good against dive comps. If an enemy dives in, you just chain everyone up and deal massive damage to them, whereas against this double poke, Arden makes a lot more sense, or maybe even a Grace to try and help this Cruel.
Yep, I personally think Arden would be the most sensible choice, if you'd ask me. Only reason being because Arden with a Vanguard, a speed boost, and a slow when you actually use Vanguard on the allies or yourself would help and allow Cruel to catch up onto Skye, a very, very mobile hero. And on top of that, we have the Gauntlet coming out for Arden at level 6. But the side of Impunity will settle for comfortability, and the amount of CCs they can put out with that Lance is just immense and will definitely change the course of team fights if used well, and thus picking up the Lance for themselves. And Lance in this current meta going up against a Lyra, I wouldn't say it is a direct counter, but it does very well against a Skye if you can actually root the Skye and then stun her out with the Githin wall. But it's not an easy feat, but if anyone were to pull that off, it would definitely be Impunity.
Yeah, that's the trade-off you have to make with a Lance. It's a really good counter to Skye as long as you can land your abilities. Because Skye is really mobile, can dance around the fold, and so it's exceptionally hard to land a Githin Wall, to land an Impale onto Skye, but then once you do, you're rewarded so heavily. Cruel basically gets a free kill if the Impale lands on Skye. Cruel's just gonna kill her. Especially if he can get her from Hell's Heart, and she maybe wastes her reflex block, missing the Impale. Such an easy kill, and Cruel will counter Skye so heavily. But in general, Skye is much better than Cruel in a 1v1. Cruel just won't be able to stick on top of her because of the Sui strikes and the constant repositioning. And Arden's much more of a defensive captain versus Lyra. You're trying to keep your carries alive, trying to peel for them with the Vanguard, whereas Lance is a much more aggressive captain, trying to engage the fights, trying to force the enemy to be backing off, giving you the advantageous position.
Yep, and looking over to yesterday's match between Impunity and J-Trex Inferno, we see something relatively familiar. However, Impunity actually picked up a rhyme for themselves, this time a Cruel. And according to VG Pro, and just looking at Blue City's VG Pro stats, he has a 96 or something percent win rate on that Cruel. He's just so very comfortable on that Cruel, so I'll not expect anything less. And from how Vox was actually playing yesterday, he did very well in a 1v1 against a Sky. And generally, Vox in the early game has got a sustain provided by the point and shift. Coming into the mid game, he has got a breaking point, allowing him to build stacks up. And then comes the mid-late game when he completes that one Tyrant's Monocle or even two Tyrant's Monocle, he will just be putting out so much damage. And with the amount of armor just reduced across the boards for all heroes, Vox definitely does well in this current patch. And whether or not we will be seeing a CP Vox, it's another subject altogether. It's highly likely. Yeah,
No.
there you go. We'll probably be seeing double weapon power, as we all know, because of the reduction in armor across the board. You don't quite need to build that, armor pierce or armor shredding bone saw or tension bow anymore. But I'm not surprised if Blue City on this Cruel would just go for the spell sword build that we've been seeing since last patch.
I think it could work going for the spell sword on Cruel. Getting that cooldown reduced on your A really helps engage, really helps close gaps between someone like a Sky and himself. But I would much more expect, as it's likely to be double weapon, I'd much likely expect a bone saw into breaking point kind of build. Lots of utility, lots of ramping damage, but that's what Cruel's designed for. If he gets the bone saw stacks for Vox, then it'll be pretty easy. Or we could even see a bone saw into just tank up and then maybe build a soul blade last item. So it's interesting what they're going to go for build wise. I think Vox will be pretty standard build. Has to be poison shiv first. Has to be breaking point pretty much. We are now loading into the Halcyon Fold for the first game of today. Let us know who you think is going to win. Is it going to be Renegades or is it going to be Impunity? Let's just jump into the game. Looks like, we're going to see a double weapon comp and Booksy a little bit defensive to start.
Yep, they are playing relatively defensive in this early game, and that is for a reason. They just cannot outpoke the heroes coming out from RNG themselves. So, this early game is definitely understandable. RNG, however, going for the very aggressive maneuver, just trying to scare QC on that Lance away. However, this Elder Train will definitely be secured by RNG unless QC can have a steal.
Yeah, QC trying to get that impel, but positioned by SNK to make sure QC was too late in trying to impel that. So as you said, did go over to Renegades, and now they're going to rotate to their backs together. Vox isn't deciding to push the lane. Generally, when you take your backs together and the enemy goes for the front, goes for the mid Elder Treant, the Elder Treant or goes for your mid healing camp, you want to rotate the lane and push the lane as hard as possible to try and offset that gold difference that you are now behind. Because obviously you lost a little bit of jungle. Defq deciding it's more important that he gets boots to try and escape any invades. And to be fair, he does still manage to push the wave and get slightly ahead in farm because Kestrel had brought home as well. So it's not the worst rotation and decisioning from Defq.
Yeah, we do see those Spaghetti picking up 3 blades in this early game. That will be a lot of damage coming up from those Glimmer shots, and it will aid Castro in terms of the early game farm. But jungle, a lot of action happening.
Yeah, Booksy going to get the Elder Treant, and now Lyra's in a bad position. Uses the healing flask, but it is not enough. First blood goes over to Queasy on the Lance. That will help him towards the fountain a lot earlier, which can be really important. It seems that getting kills onto your captain is probably better in the early game because it means that if you get the first fountain, you're likely to win the first D5. Booksy with one Treant with one back camp, does not get the second. He's going to try and secure this Treant, and he does get it with the Spectral Swipe, but now Kestra's rotating down. Spaghetti going down, Glimmer Shot coming through, and now there's going to be the forward brush from Shingy in a couple of seconds. Sui Strike first, that's very aggressive positioning from Shingy. Going in front of Bluxty, uses the healing flask, going to wait in the bush. Lyra spots him out with the Imperial Sigil. Now Vox rotating down as well. Defq is going on to Spaghetti, lovely impel, uses the healing flask, and Bluxy trying to run away to the back line. It pushed back on the Githium wall, does not spell up Spaghetti, but it does start up SNK. There's the Protector contract doing a bit of work. Spaghetti is going to get the kill. Lyra gets the last hit actually on to Defq. Bluxty tried to rotate back to help, but he's just going to be doing nothing. Cannot turn around. He's going to try and secure this healing camp. We'll be able to with the smite most likely, but now Shingy should be able to get the back camps freely unless Vox decides to rotate down. Bluxty has had enough. He wants to go in. QC with the Githium wall, but is going to fall anyway, and now Lyra's going to get healing up onto Shingy. Defq wants to do a bit of work onto Shingy, and in the end, actually, a couple of kills traded over, but back camps will go over to Bluxty on this crawl if he doesn't die.
I doubt. I mean, with the amount of sustain coming out from Krull, generally he will not die in the early game. But just look at the amount of aggression coming out from RNG, or rather the side of Impunity. Actually, it didn't quite pay it off for them. Granted, he did secure 2 farms from the backs from Chingy on that Sky, but I personally don't think that the trade-off is worth it, because Chingy did go into your bags, did not manage to take you down whatsoever, but just look at the goal difference, right? Had they just stayed in the jungle, granted, it's just gambler's mentality. If I go in aggressive, I steal all the farm, then I could probably put myself in the lead, but that didn't quite happen for the side of Impunity then. Instead, they just sacrificed 2 lives there. Rather, they could have just easily picked up Lyra then, backed off, maybe take a mid-treant, and then easily backed off. They would be, in a more favorable position when DevQ just push out the lane and then head down for the team fight. Because we saw earlier on, DevQ was pretty late to go down and join in the team fight. Only reason because the wave is just so big, he had to clear the lane farm. And that is something maybe the side of Impunity have to work on. I used to continuously say that Impunity's macro movements and how they play their maneuvers in game, they are very strategic, very, very deliberate, but coming into this early game, it just doesn't look like so.
Yeah, well, one thing to point out is Impunity have got 3 tier 3 items, whereas Renegades have 1, just picked up on Spaghetti. So if Impunity decide to fight now, despite the gold being pretty much even, they are almost certainly going to fight. They've got a Fountain, they've got a Tension Bow, and they've got a Poison Shiv versus just a Zora Blade. So Bluxty looking to be a little bit aggressive. You cannot sneak into the top bush anymore in 2.9. It is almost impossible to get into the top bush and lane without being seen because of how vision got increased by 50%. If the laner or any minions are anywhere near the lane, it's just not going to happen. I've done it in a practice match with one of my mates, and you can't get anywhere near the top bush because you're just seen before you get in there, because there's now an extra vision range. So that is a slight nerf to Krull. He used to always love running around the backside, running around his turret and trying to sneak into the top bush, but it's not going to work anymore.
Yeah, we do see Blue City actually differing from the build that he had in 2.8, rather than going for that, spell sword first. He actually did settle for the Tension Bow just to aid him in an extra burst in the early game. And like we mentioned before, Tension Bow in this current patch just not as great because of the amount of health that players or heroes generally have now. But it's not stopping Blue City on getting that, and we do see a blindfold barrage into the top brush, trying to catch out Blue City, but Blue City coming in very, very sneaky.
I know where he is. The Imperial Sigil did spot out Blue City. He is level 6, ready with that from Hell's Heart available. No reflex blocks except on Kestrel. So as long as that from Hell's Heart hits on SNK or Xingyi, it will be a guaranteed stun. Blue City, again, is finding a lot of trouble actually being aggressive at this point in the game, unless Sky decides to face check that bush, but she's going to take away... Nope. Bluxty's going to take away the front healing camp, and now he doesn't really know what to do. He could try and get a gold mine, could try and seize this Tier 1 turret, but Kestrel's got too much clear speed that it's just not going to happen. So Impunity forced to back off to their own jungle and not really get anything from that early game power spike they had. Xingyi's now got a Tier 3 item.
Yep. At this point in time, it really is down to the late game and whether or not Blue City on this crew can survive to then. And I mean, not survive to then, but more like in the late game itself, whether or not Blue City is just tanky enough to hold for himself in the game, in the team fights. Because we look over to the side of Renegades, we look over to the side of RNG, and we do see Chingy, a very aggressive, very mobile hero there on that Sky, just able to just reposition herself as and when she sees fit. As long as she has got lock on, as long as she has got the lock on, she will be very, very mobile, and it will be quite a tough job for Blue City to just catch out on her, unless of course Blue City lands his from Hell's Heart, which once again, back to the mobility part, is just so very difficult.
Yeah, Bluxty once again spotted as he tries to sneak into the top bush. It's really annoying as cool because you think you should be able to get there, but Spaghetti just knew, able to back off. And Bluesty's waiting. He's got tier 2 defense on Kestrel already, but Shingy went for Dragon's Eye first. What do you think about this build on the Sky? Do you like it against Squall, or would you prefer to see a Frostburn? Doesn't do anywhere near as much damage, but does have the slow. And actually, of that thought, Impunity sieging this turret once again, down a little bit below half health. Bluesty waiting in the bush, but the series strike from Shingy was very aggressive, waiting if Bluesty decided to stay there. He's now forced to back off, and Renegades can try and siege their own tier 1 turret now, with Cruel forced to go down to the jungle. Going to get the Treant to try and heal up before he comes back up the lane. Box wants to clear this wave as quickly as possible because he knows Kestrel's going to be doing those glimmer shots into the turret. Bluesty coming up. This is the engage. That's going to be a bulwark already down. Cruel going to go a little bit defensive now. Did a little bit of poke on SNK, and both teams is going to back off. So what do you think about the Dragon's Eye?
Well, the Dragon's Eye worked for Sky, and now it's just part of a staple build for Sky. Issue with that, it's you need to stay in a team fight for a very long time, and we do not see the kind of aggression we are expecting coming out from a hero that uses Dragon Eye. So I'd rather, instead of the Dragon Eye as first item, maybe going for the Frostburn first, have that slow. That way you can just stack your Dragon's Eye. A much easier stack for you, at least with the Fall Barrage. You get an extra, crystal power and all the good things that come to Dragon Eye. But then now what we are seeing right now, we are seeing a lot of aggression, a lot of stagnated, positioning coming out from both teams, both of them just being just in lane, but not doing much at all. We have minions just blocking those forward barrages, and we have Blue City just dodging all of them. So really not much opportunities for that Dragon's Eye to even stack.
Yep, no, it looks like Lara's going to take so much damage. Going to have to portal away, but she will fall anyway to the Spectral Smite. Now Bluesty waiting in the bush, waiting for a time to either go in or try and take an objective. What are Impunity going to do with this? Bluesty looks like he's going to start up the gold mine. He is, and Defq's going to try and push this wave up. I doubt he's going to try and get the turret, because without Cruel, that's going to be pretty hard. But no, they are going to start it. Spaghetti does not want to defend. Nice flare to make sure Spaghetti cannot get away with the invis. And Bluesty is going to go for Tension Bow Tornado Trigger. Something very different on this Cruel.
Yep, very different, but we've seen this build before in 2.8. I'm not sure how well it'll work. One shot, one kill. Hitting that gold mine, but it's just a tad too early. Do not secure the gold mine for RNG. And Impunity do get extra gold now. Now it's currently sitting at 22.6, but a return turret will be taken by Spaghetti.
Yeah, that is SNK. Could be a little bit trying to help Spaghetti, but he knows Spaghetti's dead. Tier 1 turret for your own life is more than worth it. Cruel with a smite execute. But yeah, SNK did try and help out Spaghetti, but just realised, no, this is lost. We've already we got what we wanted, but now Impunity are thinking, okay, you got one turret, we got a kill, looks like we can get another turret. Defq building up those breaking point stacks up to 8 stacks already, but he's going to have to back off and lose those stacks. And so he's back down to 0, but they still want the turret. Death from above, going to not quite hit Bluesty. They've got full smite stacks. He's going to try and do it in time. Bluesty's going to fall there, and that's going to be Defq able to get the turret, but will he lose his own life for it? Looks like Sal's going to be able to pick up the kill. And Lyra actually gets the last hit. Now Queesy's the one running away. He's going to have to try and prevent the ace. He's got 10 seconds. It doesn't look likely. Sky gets the kill. And in the end, after a turret, another turret, and another turret, Renegade get the ace.
Yep, but now Renegades can secure a turret for themselves. And just looking over the goal difference between both of these teams, we do see from Hell's Heart being blocked out by Lyra.
Going to be blocked, and there were no minions, so Renegade cannot get this turret yet. Spaghetti going to try and get it with one basic attack, and there's the flare coming out. I think that was from Defq to try and spot out Spaghetti. Wait for it, does come through. That's the silence, but another active coming, blocked up by Defq. Will he get the damage on to Kestrel? Not quite. Spaghetti stays alive. There's a Lyra heal, and Bluesty tried to make the best out of a bad situation, but in the end, it just didn't work out.
It didn't work out, and we do see a differ in Defq's build as compared to yesterday. Yesterday he had the shift into breaking point, and then double TM. But now he will settle for the Sorrow Blade, hopefully just to put out more raw damage rather than just just counting on those crits that he will put out in the late game when he gets 2 Tyrant's Monaco. At this point in time, he definitely has got a raw damage, but just looking over to the build of Chingy, he has got a light armor now picked up for himself. Although it will not negate much damage, it will soften the amount of damage coming out from Defq. Overall, Spaghetti now completing 2 Tyrants Monaco, and then SNK with that Crucible as well. SNK, I must say, doing a very good job just protecting his team from the amount of damage coming out from Defq. or Blue City. And we've mentioned this before. And although in patch 2.9.1, it is quite easy to just go for double weapon power because of the reduction in armor and shield across every hero. And it's quite easy now to just go double weapon power because you don't have to quite build shielding.
Well, that's going to be SNK caught out by an Impale, trying to sneak through, but there was a nice gang set up by Impunity, forcing the Arcane Passage out, and no ultimates used by Impunity. They could try and take this gold mine now, because they are certainly ahead if another team fight does start. Bluxty looking to just pop some vision, and they're actually looking to fight instead. Spaghetti's just coming through, has got Soul Blade double Tyrants already, wants to re-infuse. 3 infusions for Impunity though, so this is a really good time for them to fight if they decide to do so. But no, they force the Arcane Passage and just backing off.
Yep, and the second item coming out from Chingy as well, not that Frostburn. Instead, we do see the Eve of Harvest coming up for Chingy. I'm not too sure about getting a sustain item as second item on Sky, and on top of getting the sustain item, you have Vox just there with the Mortal Wound. And the longer you sustain in team fights, the better it is for Blue City.
Yep, to see how much Bluxty can get stacks onto you. There's going to be one shot onto DefQ. That's not quite dodge it in time with Sonic Zoom. Death with a very interesting positioning from Sky to try and stop them from backing away. But Impunities do still manage to retreat. Spaghetti going to, of course, get Bonesaw last item, most likely, on this Kestrel. It doesn't even matter if Vox is not building defense. You should just get a Bonesaw against the Crawl mainly, and also to shred through any base armor Vox has. And basically Spaghetti's going for the idea of, if Vox doesn't build defense, I'm going to delete him with a couple of glimmer shots. If he does, I'll get the Bonesaw just in case. And it could work out. I'm interested to see what DefQ's going to go for after this Aegis. Probably War Treads that's going to build into. I think that was a minion candy by Lyra to make sure Impunity didn't take it. So pretty smart, meaning no one's going to get that immense gold payout, and the game will not scale to late game as quickly because there's less gold. So SNK was an interesting play to make sure that gold mine remains untaken.
Yeah, but it's rarely seen for a minion candy to just be dropped by the gold miner. I know I myself have dropped minion candy as a desperate move onto my Crystal Sentry so that he just hurts a little more. I mean, he's an MVP of every single match that we've seen so far, and he's just very strong, but the minion candy just makes him so much stronger. And so nerf minion candy, please, SCMC, if you're hearing us, the caster. And honestly, coming into this match, just looking over the Chingy, right, he has stopped on the Eve of Harvest. He went for defense. He has got a chronograph in his pocket, probably building into that clockwork just for the extra, cooldown on those Suri Strike and that 60 crystal power as well. But like I said, like I mentioned earlier on, Eve of Harvest, I don't quite like the item pickup on Chingy. Only reason is because the longer you do have the sustain in team fights, right, it will help you, it will help your team, but it helps Cruel as well. And the sustain will just be cut in, a third, rather 2/3, or a third actually, because of the Mortal Wound coming out from DefQ on that Fox. So I personally think it is kind of not worth it to go for the Eve of Harvest. I would have preferred if Chingy just settled for just raw crystal power in terms of Shatter Glass. If not, then a lesser raw crystal power with that Frostburn just to stack up your Dragon's Heart even further.
Actually, DefQ is deciding to go for Journey for Journey Boots, which means that other oak card is either going to be sold or built into a Slumbering Husk, or maybe Crucible. Not sure why he'd build a Crucible. There's nothing to block, really. So interesting what DefQ decides to go for instead of going for 4 damage items, unless the oak heart is then just sold later on in the game. One shot does hit DefQ, 600 damage, but he'll sustain that with the Poison Shiv quite nicely. And Impunity have been the aggressors. They've been ahead for so long in this game, and they just can't get anything out of it. Queasy trying to be sneaky there. In fact, all 3 members of Impunity could sneak over that wall. It's cool if there's someone there, but it's much harder than Lance, and quite a lot harder than Vox as well. So Impunity just don't know what to do. They feel like maybe we take the Kraken, but then if we take Kraken, it could just be stolen by Lyra, and if we try and fight, they're just going to back off because they have Lyra. So this is really a problem for Impunity. They need to do something, or else Kestrel and Sky are going to scale to late game.
Yep, and at this point in time, Spaghetti just have got full, offense items now, and for Chingy, he's probably working towards tier 3, the fourth offensive item, but he's just not actively farming. He's sitting at 82 CS, more than Blue City, and I personally think that, RNG definitely has got enough damage right now, especially if Chingy can just stack that Dragon's Eye. but they are still not fighting. They are very resistant, stubborn against this fighting thing, and just looking for skirmishes at all. They are just playing the poke game, and I know for poke game wise, the side of RNG definitely will win out because you have a Cruel on the side of Impunity, and Impunity will never win this poke game. But it's just down to who will actually address this stagnant, this calm before the storm first. And I feel that whoever that starts this fight may have a high chance of just losing.
Yeah, that is the problem Impunity are facing. They feel if they start the fight, they're going to lose it. But that's first getting more. Second block on the from Hell's Heart on Spaghetti. He's going to try and boots away. Nice active camo trap, does not pop it. Now he's going to start with Queasy. Queasy second block damage. He's going to boots away. The Principal Arcanum, not enough to finish him off. He uses the fountain on himself. So does SNK DefQ. Going to dodge out that one shot, one kill now. Bluxty is still quite healthy, but so are all three members of Renegade thanks to the Lyra. What are Impunity going to do here? What's the play? Looks like they're going to try and rotate to think that Renegade would be trying to take their tier 3 turret, but Renegade want to port home. SNK wants to make sure there's no goal when we're taking, but they know where is Kestrel. Kestrel's been ported home, so that's the ball accused by Lyra. So the Arcane pass used by Lyra. SNK caught out. Renegade not with the best team coordination there. One ported home, the other two stayed. Now Impunity could start up the goal line pretty much for free, and as long as there's not a one shot, one kill, they could be fine. But I'm reconnecting. What about you?
Well, I'm not even reconnecting. I just got jumped into lobby, so I'm not sure. So I guess it is a game restart, and
I guess, yeah.
Yeah, I mean there is really nothing much to say here. I don't want to say it's a very close game for both teams. It is anyone's. The ball is still it's in midair. It is anyone's game at that point in time. We do see Impunity though before the reset actually has got a 1 point something close to 2k gold lead, but RNG can easily come back from that, and Impunity definitely had the upper hand in that late game. They took down Lyra, they took down SNK. And after taking down SNK, they can easily just sneak a Kraken, although Spaghetti will be there to try to steal that Kraken. But Impunity, they will know where to stand to try to block out the one shot, one kill. And if Spaghetti or Chingy actually heads down to the Kraken pit to try to steal it, at least they can just turn on to RNG and just force that, Spaghetti or Chingy to just back off. So I want to say Kraken would definitely be... No definites, but we'll definitely be going over to Impunity in that game, and then it's just down to whether RNG can fight it back or not. But at this current moment, we don't know what is happening. We don't know why it's happening. So
some problems are occurring, but yeah, I agree with you. The Cruel and Vox Lance could just start up the Kraken. If Kestrel and Sky decide to try and steal it, all of their steal potential can be body blocked. If you body block the Kestrel weapon power ratio, you body block the forward barrage, then you're going to get the Kraken without a question. And as you said, just turn and fight. Leave Cruel on the Kraken, make it a 2v2 with Lance, stunning up Kestrel a couple of times with that Echoed Githian wall, and it should be pretty easy for Impunity to secure the Kraken, force another team fight, which they... Again, the problem that Impunity were having is they couldn't force a team fight. Well, Kraken is great for that. She pushes down lane, she forces the enemy to either fight you or just lose their turrets. And so that was really could have been helpful for Impunity, but looks like we're going to have to start again, and maybe Impunity are going to have another chance to be more aggressive in the early game, make more team fights, make more plays. We saw a series of tons of fights and plays, one after the other, when the tier 1 turret started falling. But after that, it was much more passive. No one really wanted to try and take that tier 3 because they felt the enemy could just back away and they'd be in a bad position if they tried to engage.
Yep, there were many openings for Impunity to just, one-up RNG in terms of rotation and in terms of just objective taking, but that wasn't quite seen in that first game. And the only reason I can think of is how much respect Impunity is actually offering up to RNG gaming. Or not RNG gaming, but Renegades himself. And Impunity, they're definitely looking stronger ones in this current team, although they're just playing so much more passive than I'm used to, and I'm sure how you are used to. And this is something that we've seen as well. So, interesting fact, when I was casting for CMO1 Major, and the finals was down to Impunity and that of Infamous, then Renegades, right? So, it was really passive. It was down to a 30-ish minutes game, and everyone was so afraid to actually go in for a team fight because they know if they just make one wrong move and one misstep, the other team can definitely capitalize on it and then start snowballing very, very hard. And this is something that we see as, qualities of both of these teams. Right? They capitalize very well on mistakes, and from that one mistake you make, they just snowball you so hard. It's so difficult for you to even just breathe, much less come back from their snowball. So I guess this is a respect they have for each other, and thus they are just playing so much more passive. Although there were a lot of openings, and if they were just up against another team, they could have easily just make use and capitalize on those openings. But because they're up against each other, they are not doing anything at all.
Yeah, it's one of those things where they probably could have just had a team fight, and Impunity looked like they would have won. They looked ahead, they looked stronger in the early game towards the mid game, but as you said, just a bit too scared, a bit too frightened that it would be turned around and they'd be reverse snowballed, which is a really hard position to be in. So finding out we are definitely going to be restarting the game with the same draft. So no different draft because the game had a slight problem, so hopefully that'll all be fixed. Hopefully we're not going to have another restart, and all the players won't be too annoyed. No one can really say, "Oh, we definitely deserve to win that game. Why are we restarting?" Impunity, you could say they were ahead, but you could also say that they were behind because once it gets to late game, Sky's going to be really hard to deal with. Kestrel was already very hard to deal with, and so it's very even. And I really hope we see a bit more aggression from both of these teams.
Definitely. Aggression is something that both of these teams are infamous for, but they are just not showing it in this game, between each other. The amount of afraidness, right? The amount of fear both of these teams have, right? Just to make one single mistake is just so immense, and it's just overtaking their usual play style. I mean, just looking over at how they were playing in their ranked games and in their private scrimmages, we do see that they are just so strong. They want to push. They are aggressive. They just want to go in and in and in. But when they are up against each other, they are playing like they are not the team themselves.
Yeah, that is one of the problems. Maybe a bit of synergy issues, maybe a bit of coordination issues. Maybe they're not quite speaking to each other clearly enough, and someone says let's go in and the other person doesn't quite hear them, and in the end you end up just doing nothing. That really is a problem that some of these players face, and hopefully this game is going to be all sorted. We're probably going to see quite a similar rotation from both teams. Cruel and Vox aren't going to be aggressive going for a level 1 fight because they're not going to win it, especially against the Lyra and against the Sky. So I think what Renegades could do is they could just go straight for the healing camp, not go for the Elder Tree and go towards the enemy jungle, take away that mid-healing camp, and then they'll be in a much better position. They'll be slightly further ahead in gold, and more importantly, Impunity won't be level 2 if they decide to try and clear their farm quickly and fight.
Yep, and that is something I'm expecting coming up from RNG in this game. At least, it's just to play very aggressive, roam in threes, go into the jungle, like you mentioned, take away the mid camp off the side of Impunity, head down to take the Elder Tree and go back into their rotations. They will be slower, and Castro will probably be forced to head up back into lane because of Vox's ability to clear lane in the early game is just so much better if there's no one there, right? Because of the resonance bouncers and just how fast.
Impunity trying to do something secret. Defq did not pick up Boots, and neither did Blue. But there's going to be a fight level 1. Descenders wouldn't happen, but it is starting. That's going to be a first kill actually for Queasy on the Lance. Healing Flask was popped by SNK, but it was not enough. Defq doing the work on Spaghetti. Look like now he's going to try not to forward barrage. That's going to be a Healing Flask pop. Defq has not got his, but he still gets the kill. Shingy going to get impaled. Lovely impaled from Queasy. He's going to fall most likely. No, Healing Flask pops. Will it be enough? Defq, he's his own Healing Flask, but he's going to fall. And Queasy is the last one standing, with Shingy trying to get the kill, and Shingy's going to try and port, but that's a flare stopping him. Crawl's coming. Bluxty is going to try and get the kill on Shingy. He's going to forward barrage, but will Bluxty be able to do it? Lovely impale. That should be enough with one Spectral Smite with no stacks, and SNK is going to try and go on QC. I said I wanted aggression, and that is about as aggressive as we can be. 5 kills in 1 minute.
5 kills in 1 minute, that is definitely a change up as compared to the first game or before reset. But RNG will be taking that Elder Treant that was fought over by both teams, and I'm really liking the aggression coming out from the side of Impunity now. No doubt they have got the weaker early game comp before even Blue City gets that tension ball. But without a Suri strike, it is quite easy to just root Chingy on a spot, as we constantly see QC doing, and even QC picking up 1 kill for himself and 2 assists, definitely putting himself in a better spot as compared to in the first game.
Yeah, Blue City going to go aggressive once again. He's going on to SNK this time, taking a lot of that forward barrage poke though. So he's forced to back off, did have lock on, which means Blue City was taking the brunt of Sky's forward barrage. And yeah, it was a really interesting rotation from Impunity. I liked the idea. Problem was there was only boots picked up on Lance, so that means they were spotted. Blue City's going to try and go on Shingy. That's so risky. Shingy's got the Suri strike. Blue City's only got protect contract, but is it going to be enough? Spectral's might not quite. Lance gets the kill once again. Captain Sneak kills too. It's going to be like a 3-minute fountain for Queasy. He's got so much gold.
Well, early game, yes, he's got so much gold, and if he does manage to steal away this Elder Treant, then whoa, fountain at 3 minutes. Nope. Okay, maybe not so now. He's sitting at 900 gold, not quite enough for a fountain just yet. But when we talk, I'm sure as casters, when we mention aggression, we are kind of talking about the calculated form of aggression, not just blind.
Nah, just go, just dive, just go to the enemy backs and kill them. Go for it, why not?
Well, maybe for you, but when I speak, in my context of aggression, I really just mean calculated aggression, right? Calculated risk definitely will win you the game. If you are just gonna jump in blindly and just try to think that you are the gods of the world, then maybe it'll work out for you if you're OP enough. I don't want to say that, but coming from both of these teams, they work the best when they have the teammates around, and there is no denying that whatsoever. So hopefully,
Spaghetti is caught out by the Cruel and an Impale. Cruel gets the Spectral Smite kill in the end. I think Cruel would have been spotted going to the top bush, but apparently not. He walked past the minions, and Spaghetti maybe wasn't watching the lane at that point. And so Blue City able to secure another kill. Elder Treant will despawn at this point, and Blue City's going to pick up towards that tension bow, but still not quite able to get it. And Queasy does not have the 4-minute fountain, despite having 2 kills. He's still 100 gold away. So if he just secured that Elder Treant, it would have been a 4-minute fountain, which would have been pretty OP from Queasy, given the fact that he bought boots and a protector contract. But yeah, it's not to be.
Yep, there you go. 4 minutes and 20 seconds fountain for QC, because he picks up the 2 fronts. The 2 small fronts gave him that, and SNK still not quite getting the fountain yet. Approx 400 gold away, 350 gold away from that fountain. And at this point in time, Impunity once again definitely looking much better as compared to RNG. They can go in for a fight. They can force a fight. Blue City now coming on to lane.
This is even better than before. There isn't even a soul blade or Kestrel. Stopped by the Bulwark, but he's going to go in onto Shingy. Lots of damage being put down, but the Spectral Smite has been used and it was not enough. Lukesty's going quite low. Defq's doing the work onto Spaghetti, forces him back under tight while Defq is still healthy. And this is the same point as before, but better for Impunity. They've got all 3 items up. Poison Shift, Tension Bow, procs onto Spaghetti, does a lot of damage. Another plague is going to come down. Lukesty's diving turrets, he's diving a second. He's going to get the kill. Defq as well, going so deep for these kills. Now Shingy, the last one left alive of the carries, and she's going to fall. No, Shingy is alive! How is Shingy survived Luxley and Defq? And Queasy's going to try and do the impale over the turret. And turret does turret things, and Impunity get 2 kills. And look, they're winning this game. They're ahead because of the aggression they're doing.
Yep, because of the aggression, they are ahead, and I was expecting something along these lines in the first game itself, and had they just played like this in the first game, I personally think, and I reckon that it would have just been such a snowball for the side of Impunity. Now Chingy, however, not going for the Dragon's Eye first, and just settling for the Frostbite that we've been talking about. The extra CCs definitely will help the team. You see Blue City constantly just rushing onto your faces, trying to smite your faces, trying to DMR those faces, those pretty faces of yours, with that Frostburn, you can kind of control the amount of aggression coming through from Impunity, or hopefully control the aggression. Now though, whoa!
That's going to be lovely plays by Impunity. In the end, it was a Gideon wall into a from Hell's. It's just that was a well executed. SNK really had nothing he could do. Didn't even fountain himself. There was no point. He was probably stunned up as well by that from Hell's Heart. And now Impunity, with this aggression, getting that turret down lower, but they are a little over 1k gold ahead. Going to get another heal and fronts away from Renegades. And it looks like instead of going for the gold mine, because Impunity know Lyra's back up, they're just going to try and siege this turret once again. And there's going to be Boosty going in, poke onto SNK. Is he going to be the target once again? That's going to be a silence, but Phantom was already used. Lovely death and buff does stun up Death Q. One shot, going to hit Boosty instead, so he's going to be fine. And the turret stays alive. What is the call from Impunity? They're going to start up this gold mine, or they're going to look to hide and fight. Spaghetti going to face shit the bush that QC is in, but no of the other members are. Death Q still needs to pick up his bone saw, which he has now done in the shop. And Impunity not quite going to get anything out of that aggression, and that's going to be a nice flare on Spaghetti. Hell does miss, well dodged by Spaghetti, going to get the heal and speed boost by the Imperial Residual. Spaghetti going to back off, and Protector Contract does spot out. They know calls in the bush now if they were looking very closely. Boosty has been spotted by the forward barrage. Frostburn slowing him up, but that means Sky doesn't have as much damage as before. Frostburn doesn't give that much extra push to power anymore. Death Q going to step around the top. Boosty able to secure the last hit with the crawl, and now Chrissy could be in trouble. He's got the Phantom for himself if it is needed, but he's kept it so far. That's really well played by QC. Spaghetti healing fast across. Boosty's still going to go into the low, and they're going to get impaled. Where is the Fountain? QC, use it! I'm so scared for you, but he's not scared at all. He's keeping the Fountain for the very last minute, and Vox gets the last hit onto Kestrel. Such plays from Impunity. Fountain for Sky will not be enough. They get the double, and this will be a gold mine. How did QC have that much self-control to keep the Fountain?
I guess that is, I don't know. I mean, when we see Quarter 4, okay, so if the viewers or you haven't quite realized yet, Quarter 4 is usually on the roll, right, for the side of Impunity, but in these past 2 days, we haven't quite seen Quarter 4 coming out at all. And QC on this lance from yesterday as well, we realized that he's just so very patient with his fountain, and he's patient to the extent where you don't quite I mean, he remembers to pop it when he eats it, right? But he never ever, at least I've never quite seen it, right? If I have, then I probably missed it, or I can't quite remember, but he hasn't quite popped the fountain because of selfish reason yet, and it's usually just saved for his team. So, you know, coming into this game, Impunity definitely found himself a very, very good roamer that can just be so patient and so resistant with the fountain. So I guess it's a good thing for them. But now we are seeing, right, Impunity sitting at close to 4k gold lead over to the side of Renegades. And had they played this way from the start, then, you know, it could have just been the game, you know, since just hour 1 or minute 1. The amount of damage coming out from Blue City now is just so much with the tension bolt proc. You jump on Castro, the root follows in, and Castro just can't quite go anywhere. And with the amount of damage reduction coming out through Blue City's smite levels and the smite passive, you know, Castro can't quite put out anything. And Chingy, although he has that frostbite, but it's not enough control whatsoever from the side. And now
really engaged. Boosty from Hellside does come out, does have SNK in the end. That's going to be a triple stun on the actual tower in the end by Spaghetti. And now Boosty's going to take a little bit of damage, but Sky going to go back through the portal, being quite defensive. And Impunity not with the best engage, but they are able to back off with Renegades not going to be too aggressive against them. Paul has got a full metal jacket already, and Sky can take a lot of damage, and that's going to be a spectral smite to pick up the kill by Blue City. Once again, Impunity so much more aggressive. They'll dive a little bit of damage, but it doesn't matter because they get the kill. That's the flare. Come out on Spaghetti, and he could be in a bad position here. Blue City actually going to get the turret though. Well played by Impunity, forcing Kestrel to back off because the flare went out, meaning Kestrel was scared. This will be an easy sentry for Impunity, and Blue City with that metal jacket is just such a good build path against this weapon Kestrel.
Yep, and in the first game we saw Blue City actually not prioritize on this form of defense. Instead, Blue City immediately just jump onto, if I remember correctly, someone has to mark me if I'm wrong, went for the reflex block and then immediately onto the tension bow. But this time, Blue City is just withholding that, not tension bow, sorry, what is that called? Tornado Trigger. So this time, Blue City actually withholding the build of Tornado Trigger and just settling for the Metal Jacket first, which means Blue City can definitely be in the front line, take more damage from Spaghetti, and in the early games, Spaghetti will not have the bones of build at all. Spaghetti on the casual really wants a double Tyrant's Monaco in order to put out any decent form of damage. So a very good, counter building coming through from Blue City. And as well as QC settled for that Metal Jacket as well. Then it's now down to DevQ. Whether or not DevQ will go for that Tyrant's Monaco in the last build, or just we saw in the early game, or in the first game itself, we saw an Oak card build there, and we were speculating whether or not the Oak card would turn into Slumbering Us. But this time, DevQ actually picking up the minion's food rather than the Oak card.
Yeah, Impunity also, all three members are infused. DevQ's going to probably re-pop his once he gets this wave, just to make sure that that is available. I know they're going to actually push the wave in as Minion's Foot ready for DevQ, so that's a guaranteed crit on his first basic attack, despite having only 10% crit chance, because that's a really nice passive. It's probably one of the best items in the game, is that Minion's Foot. I don't think you can sell and rebuy it anymore, because they changed that on Reflex Box, so they probably changed it on Minion's Foot as well. Not actually sure if that still works, because there's a little tip in the game that says sell and rebuy this to get the passive back for Minion's Foot. So I do wonder. But yeah, once again, infusions. 3 infusions for Impunity. They really love having infusions on their captain. We see a lot of teams go for, is their carry and jungler infused? And if they are, then they're ready to fight. But Queasy has decided, no, I need infusions as well. Captains matter too. So he's holding off on his Echo a little bit, has bought 2 infusions, whereas SNK's bought none. And it is helping them in the fights a lot. And obviously with their gold lead, that's a pretty significant. And it will also help them in the fights an awful lot. Cool, once again, still not got a Tornado Trigger. He rushed it last game. He's going so much more tanky this game.
Yep, he is going so much more tanky. And that was what I was talking about in the previous game as well. That Cruel, and it's just down to whether or not Cruel can withstand the amount of damage coming through from RNG. If Cruel can, and Cruel can just be up front and be very personal with RNG, then Cruel can just lay down those stacks, just reduce the amount of damage from Hellstar.
Waiting in the bushes from Hellstar over the wall. Gonna pick up a little Deathview, trying to 1v1 the Kestrel, but the Crystal Sentry MVP back. What's Impunity going to do now? They're going to focus on Shingy. Lovely towards the Sentry, and Impunity switch focus. The wave is pushed horribly towards their turret. In fact, maybe that's what they want, because the Kestrel is losing out on loads of creeps. Look at DevQ CS, he's on 150 creeps, and Spaghetti's stuck on 110. And this wave is going to make DevQ's lead even larger, except for that one. Sorry, 2 minions. No, he's going to rush to get it, and he does pick up the last hit. So yeah, DevQ is farming so well, and leaving Spaghetti just unable to get anything. Look at how defensive Renegades are. They know they need to stick together. They're in a bad position at this point, and Impunity are kind of free to do whatever they want. Bluxty will maybe pick up a Tornado Trigger if he ever decides to work towards it, but he's just happy with his defense and infusion, while DevQ is doing all of the damage. And he is going to go for Husk DevQ, so that Minion's Foot build buy was just for that one team fight when he wanted to get the guaranteed crit, but he is most likely going to get this Husk last item against Weapon Kestrel.
Yep, and we more often than not do see RNG actually picking up early infusions to try to push that first turret, but we didn't see that coming through from them this game, and the only reason is because Impunity took up and found the opportune moment to actually push the turret. They constantly put down pressure on that first turret, so much so that RNG couldn't find, the space to even breathe, and couldn't just counter turret push. I mean, just looking over to the amount of damage done on Impunity's turret, it is close to nothing. I don't want to say it's nothing. It is about, say, a third health off from that turret, a minusing of the health barrier, of course. But now, because of that, then RNG couldn't quite just pick up that infusion and just try to counter push. As
Renegades know they need to fight. There's gonna be a double Atlas onto the backline, double Githian Wolf though by Queasy. Death Above is not gonna zone anyone away. Arcane Passage used by Lara. His team is now split. Shingy gonna try and run away. Impunity took the bait. They went through the portal even though Shingy was not there So Impunity, once again, no reason for them to not just start this Kraken again. They're going to force the fight. Maybe that wasn't the best fight for them, but they can just secure this most likely. And if not, just fight. Fountain is up for both Greasy and SNK. One shot does come out, and Deku can take the brunt of the damage away from it comes through. And now Cool doesn't know what to do from Hellstar comes out. Is he going to get the stun onto SNK? Yes, it will. He is going to fall to the box in the end, and now Greasy's taking a lot of damage from Shingy. Hasn't got Dragon's Eye, so not building up any stacks, but still doing quite a lot of damage. Kestrel is going to force the Fountain out by Greasy. Now Shingy going to get impaled up. Yes, she will. That's going to be a dead Greasy, no question. Another impale. Echo on the impale by Greasy. That's not something we see every day, and this will finally be a Kraken. Turret is fine. It's going to lose a little bit of damage, but Vox isn't going to worry about that. Kestrel's actually going to go for it though, and I think DefQ does not. No. Kestrel's going to get a free turret, and it could be risky though, because if he's going to get caught out, that would be an ace. And is he going to go for the tier 2? Is he going to try and push this away from Port Home?
I personally don't think Spaghetti should go for the tier 2. Oh, Lance spotting.
He's going for it.
Out.
Spaghetti wants it. Spaghetti's like, you know what? We're losing this game. Let's just try and get the tier 2. Lance says no. Double Githian wall into the turret he's trying to take down. And this is even better for Impunity. Kestrel not up for another 30 seconds. He can't afford a bone saw when he respawns, so he's going to or an Aegis, so he's going to have to get a weapon infusion and just leave it at that. And the problem with that decision from Spaghetti is, yes, it gets them a turret, but it also possibly loses them the game, doesn't it?
Well, it really depends. It depends, right? I mean, Kraken now is just marching down, and as we all know, that stun landing on Shingy.
That's going to be from Hellstar on Shingy, and the wait for it, but is it enough damage for Death Above? Lovely, slow into Death Above from Shingy, and now that is Kestrel back. The portal to try and give Kestrel away into the front line, but SNK are going to use it to go back into the base. Now Impunity have a very healthy Kraken pushing down the 2 Vein Crystal turrets remaining. Lucy not with it from Hellstar for another 25 seconds. DefQ going to walk away from that Death Above. Lucy though onto the first Vein Crystal turret, and what is Spaghetti going to do? He's low on energy. He's going to try and do as much work as he can. First turret goes down. Atlas double Githian wall and another impale onto SNK. Not allowed to Fountain. He got stunned out of it. And now Lucy is onto the turret. DefQ is also on the turret into the Vein Crystal. Last thing remaining. What can Spaghetti do? He's going to be rooted. He's going to be body blocked. DefQ is going to get the turret. Is he? Is he going to get the Vein? DefQ is not going to fall. He gets the Vein Crystal, and game 1 in the end goes to Impunity.
Game 1 goes to Impunity, and this is the Impunity that we are so used to seeing, and the Impunity that we constantly praise and just say that they are a very good team all in all because of how well they just gel. They are like a well-oiled machine, right? They work in parts very different from each other, but when you put them all together, they just know what to do. It's just the talk to the tick or the tick to the talk.
Yeah, certainly. Impunity really showing how to play an aggressive play style. It didn't work out for them at the first